with Kendra Dawsey, and here's your host, Kendra Dawsey.
Hi everyone. Hi Zach. I'm eating Indian food. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. What kind of Indian food are you eating?
I have chole bhature, which is it's Punjabi. It's chickpeas and like a sauce, and I'm eating it with a puri, which is a fried bread.
Okay, very very good. That sounds quite good. It's Groundhog Day. Happy Groundhog Day.
Happy Groundhog's Day to you. You know,
Yes.
This day where we celebrate the achievements of groundhogs who have been marginalized for so long in our society.
Really, yes. It is. It's a reminder. Groundhog Day serves as a reminder to Black people. They can count how many people they know said Happy Black History Month yesterday, and how many people they know who said Happy Groundhog Day today, and they can get a sense of what the people in their country really do care about.
Yeah. Even though Black people also like winter ending. Like, hello, yes. I'm wearing that indoors. Like, come on.
Right. Yes. I think the Black people need to team up with the groundhog to get rid of this white supremacist anti-groundhog society we live in.
That's probably a good idea. Yes. Anyways, Zach, so sometimes you ask me how I'm doing, but I never ask you how you're doing. Like what's yes. on your mind this week? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling okay. But there is something on my mind this week. And unfortunately for you, the thing that is usually on my mind is sports.
Okay. All right, straight white man.
Yes. And once again, I have a legitimate reason to make us have to talk about sports at the opening of the show. Okay. So welcome to another edition of our award-winning segment, Zach Talks About Sports Until Kendra Makes Him Stop.
Cool. I love the name of that segment.
Yes. So, as you may know, the NFL has a history of being racist.
Oh, okay. I know that too. I thought you were going to be like, as you may know, the NFL did this. And I'd be like, all I know is that the NFL exists. But
okay. And that it's racist.
Yes.
Those are the things you know. Well, guess what? Those things are coming into play this week because a lawsuit was filed stating that the NFL is racist. And even though you and I know that doesn't really need a lawsuit to show that, it is going to be in the court of law because former Miami Dolphins, and full disclosure, they are the bad team that I have spent the majority of my life rooting for, and it has made me a worse person for doing such.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn. Okay.
I liked their colors and their mascot when I was like 6, and it's just been misery the entire time. So they fired their coach in this offseason, it was notable for two things. One, he was one of only 2 Black head coaches in the NFL at that time, and then also he had just come off of a year he was 9-8, 9 wins and 8 losses. The year before he was 10 wins and 6 losses. So he's at least competent enough to get a team so that they win more than they lose, which has not been the case for any Dolphins coach in the last 20 years. He was the first one. He was the first.
He's better than most of the coaches.
Yes.
For this team.
Yes. Who, to be clear, were all white. This is the first non-white and first Black head coach for the Dolphins. Okay. So he was supposed to be a big sort of, other teams were going to want him. It was very obvious that players enjoyed playing for him, which is sort of a a benefit when a league is 70% black. It turns out that the players do connect well to a black coach, and he had a winning record. So lots of teams were going to be seeking him out, and then it turned out that one of the teams he was supposed to interview with, he learned from a text with Bill Belichick, who accidentally his former assistant coach or the head coach he used to work under accidentally texted him a congratulations on getting the Giants job text that was meant for another former assistant coach of his, that he sent the text to the wrong guy, and Brian Flores had not interviewed for that job yet.
Ooh, okay.
So he's 3 days out of the interview, and he learns from a text that it had pretty much all been wrapped up in New York. And the reason, why would they
check your text messages? Basically, you check who you're sending something to. All right, all the time.
Right. Yes. And Bill Belichick is like 70 something years old, and it's totally possible that he just has two people saved in his phone as assistant coach Brian. So I don't for a second believe that I don't for a second doubt that that's what has happened. But it comes up, well, why would they still be interviewing him if they had already picked their guy? And the answer is because they are obligated to interview two black head coaching candidates who are not currently working for the organization. So even though they had already picked their guy, they were putting him through this interview process and wasting his time so that nobody could call them out for violating this rule that really has no teeth. Because like in the first couple years, like I think teams really did put up legitimate candidates, and that's why you started to see more black head coaches. But then in recent years, teams have just sort of, like an old favorite who used to play for the team, and people go, the Eagles are interviewing Deuce Staley. Isn't that fun? No, it's not, because Deuce Staley doesn't have any coaching experience. You're just doing that so you can say that you interviewed a black guy. So
yeah,
yes, and while this is happening, a similar thing is going on where in Minnesota right now. Yesterday in Minnesota, they forced a black coaching candidate to have a 9-hour interview. Meanwhile, in Michigan, the University of Michigan head coach has already said goodbye to players because he believes it is such a done deal that he's already going to Minnesota.
Oh,
meanwhile, they're making this other guy go through a 9-hour interview just so that they can.
That's painful for everyone involved. Like, that's like true spite to be like, we're gonna make you be in this interview longer. Like, bizarre.
It's very bizarre, and it's very and there's a lot to be said about sort of the way that because the problem goes all the way down, because most of the coaching candidates in the NFL, if they're not coming from college, which has its own racist problems, they're usually an offensive or defensive coordinator for a team. So like they're basically under the head coach. There's usually two guys, one who runs the offense and one runs the defense. Okay. And there is no similar Rooney Rule to make sure that those positions have a black candidate interviewing for them. So if those positions are not going to black people, then that makes it harder for them to become legitimate candidates when the interview process comes up. And so the whole thing is very lousy. There is a very funny part where he says that in 2019, this is in the lawsuit. He says in 2019 when he interviewed for the Broncos, general manager John Elway was hungover and an hour late to the interview.
Damn.
So it just shows the amount of even with a rule that it seems like there's no reason to assume the rule was put in there in bad faith.
Yeah.
even when there is a rule that's supposed to create, in a league that's 70% black, and as we said, had 2 black head coaches last year, as far as we can tell, there's only going to be 1 next year.
Damn.
Unless another one gets hired. It's going to be it's a pretty fucked up system, and I hope that the NFL is already declaring that these allegations are baseless, which is pretty suspicious, really? On account of you haven't done an investigation yet.
I know.
Yes, as many other people pointed out on Twitter, it took them 6 months to determine whether or not Tom Brady had tampered with footballs. But apparently, the day that the lawsuit comes out about racism, they immediately know, oh, this is probably not true. So it's a lot of telling on themselves. And we wish nothing but solidarity to Brian Flores, whose career is most likely over. I think that it takes a lot of courage to do that. And also the other sort of funny aspect to it is how the Patriots do play into this, because Tom Brady did retire yesterday, and it was supposed to be his big day where everybody talked about him, and then that is not what it became. And
Black History Month, bitch.
Yes, Brian Flores. And the other side of that is that Brian Flores, against his former who he was the apprentice to, Bill Belichick, he has 4 wins and 2 losses against Bill Belichick. So he's in the way that the most successful coach in history, nobody else has had his number except for Brian Flores. So if Bill Belichick decided I'm going to bring down the entire NFL into a racism lawsuit by texting the wrong person, just to make sure that the person I trained to be too good against me cannot beat me anymore, I respect that a little bit if he did that.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Okay. That was amazing. I'm going to pull the lever now.
All right.
So talk over. But yeah, things are racist. Mm-hmm. But let's go to our commercial break, which you said is special this week. Correct?
Yes. We're doing a live read this week, folks. This week's Left Night is brought to you by the evil vaccine that controls you. I know what you're thinking. Stop. This is not an anti-vax thing. This is not anything like that. The vaccine that you get at like if you go to like a CVS or to a health clinic, or maybe your employer is doing a drive to get you boosted and get the vaccine, that is not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the evil vaccine. Many people you see posting online will be talking about the evil vaccine that turns you into some sort of humanoid creature, or puts robots in your bloodstream to make you go all beep boop and stuff. That one is a different one, and that's only available through Left Night. We are giving you the evil vaccine, but you should also get the good vaccine, the one that is available in all healthcare places, and don't confuse the two. They're very different. We are not sponsored by Pfizer or by Moderna or by anybody who's doing the vaccines that work and can help lower rates of COVID in this country. We are only sponsored by the evil vaccine that only we are giving out. So if you are getting a vaccine and it's not myself or Kendra giving it to you, I can say with some certainty that that is the good vaccine, which is good for you, but that's not the one who is paying for this message. I hope that clears everything up.
Wow. I'm not licensed to give vaccines.
That's why it's so evil.
Yeah. So I might not give you the evil correctly, so you might have to get it done again. But yeah, I would love a vaccine that makes me go beep boop. That sounds great. That's amazing.
Okay. All right. So things are happening this week, as things are wont to do.
Things do happen. What is happening this week?
Well, this week we have. Sorry, I'm just gonna pull up.
No, go ahead.
Pull up some. We can talk about. We can talk about Whoopi Goldberg starting the Black History Month off strongly by claiming that the Holocaust was not about race.
Listen, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg is a comedic legend. That doesn't mean that she is smart at knowing about race and racialization of people.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like she was going the route of saying like, oh, I mean, I also I don't watch The View. I'm not their demographic. I'm not a like 60-year-old straight woman, but it seemed like she was trying to say it's not about race, it's about religion, which is like, we could talk about the way Judaism has been racialized. It has been. It definitely has been. It definitely was during the Holocaust. And also, like, Judaism is a little bit like OG in that it is an ethno-religious group. Back in the day, 5,000 years ago, you and your peoples all had kind of one religion. And I think you could kind of like liken that to like perhaps some like Native American groups here where they have their own origin stories around that ethnicity. Judaism, they were really cool and they kept doing it. Everyone else converted to Christianity like a bunch of nerds. But yeah, I guess one thing I've noticed is that and I guess you could also see this, like, there's a lot of talk about this with Nick Cannon, but I feel like the rhetoric of this discourse is always bad. It's not that companies, like, it's not like, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, if you talk about Jewish people, it's more of like companies are more likely to give out punishments for Black people being anti-Semitic than white people. Because I'm sure there's been some dumb stuff said on The View before that's been anti-Semitic.
Right.
But it seems like at first when I heard she was suspended, I thought she wasn't going to be on The View at all. And I was like, like, definitely she should be, something should happen. It seems like she apologized and was like, wow, I was really wrong. And then, there's, literally people being like giving out freaking anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But then I heard it was only 2 weeks. She'll be back. She's learned her mistake.
Yes.
Also, like, it's weird that we have shows where it's just like rich ladies talking.
Right.
Like political thing. Like, it's cool if we're like, oh, they're talking about, the best Le Creuset set. But it's like, they're going to be talking about one of the biggest atrocities in modern history. Like, why? Who even brought up the Holocaust? Like,
right.
What's going on? Anyway.
And I'm sure that like on a daily basis, like Meghan McCain said something that was more offensive to Jewish people.
Probably.
Like including her fairly regular conflation of Judaism and the state of Israel.
Yes, those are two different things. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And and she probably learned some colorful phrases about the people of Southeast Asia from her father. So yeah, like bad stuff probably gets said on The View all the time. And I don't know if this is a particularly egregious one. It is a particularly stupid thing to say.
Yeah, and I think the difference is, it seems like Whoopi has acknowledged that it's stupid. At least, like, I mean, I didn't read the apology. It does seem like she was like, I stand corrected. Like, that's a big thing. I don't think Joe Rogan's apology was even that good. So
yes,
I
don't remember. Wait, what did Joe Rogan have to apologize for something?
He well, like, Neil Young was like, oh, I don't want to be on Spotify at the same time as Joe Rogan, who's like giving out vaccine information. And then I forgot, Joe Rogan was like, I didn't mean to give misinformation. I just like put on lots of fake doctors to like say
I'm just asking questions.
It was something like that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Joe Rogan, obviously, yeah. And the stories do sort of, have a parallel in that, Joe Rogan says incredibly awful things all of the time and is paid quite a bit to do that.
Yeah.
But I think anything that undermines Spotify is good and funny.
Yeah. And I use Spotify, but I don't want to see them fail. I mostly use it because it is the thing that sucks about streaming is like it's very convenient for if you like a lot of different types of music. Like back in my day when I was 10 years old, I would have a huge thing full of CDs whenever I wanted to listen to something. But like it's convenient. But also like why did Spotify pay Joe Rogan $100 million to make straight white men more annoying as opposed to like the artists that bring them money? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yes. They generated a lot of profit and then used that because it's like, and like, it's sort of inevitable for any sort of like, especially tech companies are just like based off of like finding a corner of exploitation that they can do. And they're like, hey, we can generate a lot of revenue in people paying for our service while also paying very little to the artists whose stuff is on there. And they made quite a bit of money on that. But as is the case with any company, especially a public traded company, you're not allowed to be like, oh, we're exploiting at the right amount so that we will always be able to generate a revenue and let's just keep it at there. Capitalism is based on just unbelievable extra growth exponentially all of the time. You can't just like say this is my corner of exploitation and just sit there. So obviously they had to find a new way to bring in new listenership, and one of those ways is by paying a lot of money to very popular podcasts. So they got Joe Rogan on there being racist. They got Bill Simmons on there.
I don't even know who Bill Simmons is.
He's a sports guy. Very he's a very Boston guy who lives in LA now. And just you can just tell based on that his sports takes quite often do cross over into racism. And then
be mad at Bill Flores for like being like, hey, the NFL was racist.
Yeah, I imagine. Yes, I imagine. I imagine Bill Simmons will say something about how this lawsuit is to take away Tom Brady's special day or something like that. We will have to wait and see what exactly he says, but I imagine Bill Simmons will have a bad take on it. And then we have what was the other one, the Call Her Daddy podcast that they paid like several $1 million for.
I have never heard of that.
Listen, the internet is just full of things that you've never heard of that nobody you know listens to that have 10 million listeners per month.
It really is. Like I have said before, like I don't listen to podcasts because I like have sex. I'm too busy having sex. But like I guess there's lots of people out there not having sex that need to listen to Joe Rogan to like get over it. But I don't get it. I don't understand.
I think we've developed that there's clearly a market an untapped market of sex havers for us to make podcasts for.
Yeah, there should be a podcast for me as someone who fucks.
Yes. Now, in your head, do you picture this being a podcast somebody listens to during sex or after sex?
No, like separate from sex, but just like words. So it's like a podcast about Star Wars. You don't listen to it as you're watching Star Wars. It's just like, oh, like I like Star Wars and I listen to podcasts, So it's like like fun tips for sex.
Okay. I mean, that exists. It's called Dan Savage, and it is problematic.
Oh, no. I thought Dan Savage was like for gays who have sex, which would also be me. But
no. Originally, his whole thing, and full disclosure, I do listen to Dan Savage, even though he's awful. But his podcast is entertaining. But it was actually the start of it was that it was because old sex advice columnists used to be very mean to gay people when they wrote in and asked for advice. He was being very mean to straight people asking for advice. So which I think is good, but then it just became a rich liberal guy eventually, the way that everything does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we are touching something here that there is not really a podcast for people who regularly have sex.
So true.
It's really it should just be it could just be like a podcast about being cool. But then it becomes like a thing, like if you have to listen to it, then maybe you're not cool. So
yeah, I feel like that podcast would be successful as long as it's like the polar opposite of the Joe Rogan podcast.
Right.
If someone asks you, instead of asking you if you've done DMT, they ask you if you've like had enough fiber today.
Right. Yes. It's somebody who's actually like, yes. And also that's the other thing about Joe Rogan's podcast is that it's like movie length. I don't understand how anybody listens. How does anybody listen to that much?
More than movie length. It's like, and I guess I could see like if you have a job where you don't have to interact with people a lot and you want to listen to something to fill your time, I could see you wanting to listen to like a podcast that's 3 hours. But like Joe Rogan, if you want to listen to him for 3 hours,
right.
Why do you want to listen to him ask people the worst questions?
Right.
Like, I don't understand.
Yes. Yes. And I would like on the subject of Joe Rogan and not being funny, I would like to give a major shout out to Doug Stanhope, who is the only former Man Show host who has not turned into a media empire of annoyingness. Because Joe Rogan, everywhere, always annoying. Jimmy Kimmel, everywhere, always annoying.
Adam Carolla,
not anywhere anymore, but was for a very long time. And
now he says weird shit like, "Oh, a real man needs to eat stews." Like, what the fuck does that mean?
The best tweet of all time. There are more American males today who wear bracelets and eat stew.
What is the connection between those things?
It is my favorite masculinity tweet of all time.
God. See, okay, the thing is with The View, also we are slightly over, but like the thing is with The View, the last thing I'll say, and then we'll go into the next segment. The thing is with The View is like it's also full of annoying people talking about things that they don't know, but it's only an hour.
Right.
It's only an hour. All right. Lots of people were being stupid. Sorry, Whoopi Goldberg, for ruining or not sorry to Whoopi Goldberg, but sorry that Whoopi Goldberg ruined the long tradition of Black-Jewish relations in America. We apologize for her. We love Kugel. Do not listen to Whoopi Goldberg because she is also she took her stage name is Goldberg. You would think you would at least read up a little bit. But anyway, Zach, Zach, do you have any final thoughts for us today?
Not really. I kind of want to go watch Sister Act now.
Whoopi Goldberg at her prime. Yeah.
Real good movie.
That is a good movie. I do like it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go do that. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. Please stick around for honorable mentions with Rachel Jane Andelman. And they'll be talking about other stuff that has happened this week. And we will see you next week.